Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. We are back. All right. We are going to, as always, continue with our look at the triennial Torah portion. We want to, so I'm tearing up stuff here. We want to continue this week. We're going to be dealing with, let's see here. We're going to be dealing with Exodus 27, verse 20. And we're going to go all the way down through the end of chapter 28. 27, verse 20 through 28, verse 43. Okay, so as we look at this, as we deal with the Torah portion, as always, we want to try to remember to focus on or highlight ways upon which how we're able to allow these scriptures to be relevant for us in our lives, in our everyday lives. And so we want to be able to see how these things are relevant for us, because again, when we look at these scriptures, as always, they are the Torah specifically. This is something that literally happened in history, right? And we read about these things and these people and these words that were spoken. But even though these were words that were spoken, that we could go back and find them in antiquity, we're able to take these ancient texts, these ancient words, and apply them to our lives today. And so one of the things that we want to kind of remember, by the way, we're dealing with command, right? Command is the if there was going to be a title, it's going to be that's what it would be, right? And so we are dealing with continuing to look at the things within the tabernacle, right? And so when we look at the tabernacle, the different things within it, we want to be able to remember that when we look at the tabernacle, we want to be able to remember that Paul tells us something that causes these things to be relevant for us. If we look over here, before we get to the Torah portion, I'll look at a couple scriptures here to kind of get our minds thinking about where they should be at. So if we look at 1 Corinthians 6, I want to look at 19 and 20 real fast. Let me pull this up for us. Read verses 19 and 20 there, nice and loud.
Or do you know that your body is the dwelling place of the set apart Spirit who is in you, which you have from Elohim, and you are not your own? For you ever bought with a price, therefore esteem Elohim in your body and in your spirit, which are of Elohim.
Okay, very good. So when we look over here at these scriptures, right, we see that Paul is saying that your body is actually the dwelling place of the set apart Spirit, right? Your body is the temple of the Ruach Hakodesh, who is in you. And so another thing that we want to also think about as we're looking at these scriptures, as I often want to think about, is the fact that when we look at what it is that Messiah has done for us, we are able to understand that Yeshua did indeed initiate, bring about the new covenant. Right? We got these people out here who don't want to acknowledge that we're in the new covenant. And one of the things that we want to try to think about and remember as we go through these verses today is see that we actually indeed are in the new covenant, right? And by the way, if we're not in the new covenant, we're lost, right? I just want to say that if we're not in the new covenant right now, we're lost, right? If we haven't been joined and bound to the Father through this blood covenant, we only deal in wishes and dreams about things that are yet to come, right? Because if we're in the old covenant, we're guilty, right? If we're still in the old covenant, we're guilty, right? And so what we want to understand is that when Paul over here in First Corinthians chapter 6 and 19, when he says this thing, what he says over here, he's speaking about the spirit in you, right? This is just it's a no brainer, right? He's speaking about the spirit in you, right? The only place we see the spirit being poured out in you is in regards to the new covenant, right? If we go over to Matthew chapter 5 and verse 17, what's that say? What's that say right there?
Do not think that I came to destroy the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to destroy, but to complete.
Okay, very good. So when we look at this verse over here, understanding that Yeshua didn't come on the scene to prophesy and to be the fulfillment of his own words. He came to complete words that was already spoken. He came to be the fulfillment of things that already were spoken by the prophets and written in the Torah. And so when we are able to understand this, right, to understand and look and see the very purpose of Yeshua and see that he came not to start this thing from scratch and to come and prophesy about his own self and then have these self-fulfilling prophecies, right? That's not what he came to do. He came to fulfill things that were spoken before he came on the scene, right? And one of those things, the main thing, is dealing with the spirit in you, dealing with the new covenant, right? And so when we look at these scriptures that we're about to look at in the Torah, when we're looking at our Torah portion, we want to remember what's going on and remember what it is that Yeshua is doing and has done for us, right? So let's go back over here and deal with the Torah portion. Let me pull that up quick. Okay, for 27, we just got 2 verses. You go ahead and read those 2 verses nice and loud.
And you are to command the children of Israel to bring you clear oil of pressed olives for the light, to cause the lamp to burn continually. In the tent of appointment outside the veil, which is before the witness, Aaron and his sons are to tend it from evening until morning before Yahweh, a law forever to their generations from the children of Israel.
Okay, very good. So when we look over here and we deal with verse 20, it says, and you are to command, right? And so that's what we want to look at over here. First of all, is this word, because if we remember, we spoke about mishpatim, or the judgments, right? We spoke about that a few weeks ago, the judgments, dealing with parameters, right? Where it's not necessarily commands or literal instructions, but it's giving you parameters. If something like this happens, this is what you might do, right? Where it's different than thou shalt do this, thou shalt not do that, right? Where judgments is, if something like this happens, do this for that. Where it's not even something that it's not giving you a direct command, but it's giving you parameters on how you would respond to particular circumstances or situations. But over here now, it says, you shall charge the sons of Elohim, or you are to command the children of Israel. So we want to talk about this a little bit. If we look up here, let's pull up our tools over here. We get this. Let's see if we get this. And also let's get this. Okay, very good. So we want to look at this word here. Tsava. Here, let me put this over here. Tsava. Okay, so this word here, tsava, is a primitive root, right? To constitute, to enjoin, to appoint. Let's see here. If we think about these words here, constitute, I think we need some further things over here. Let's see if I can make this bigger. Constitute. Okay, so constitute, to set, to fix, to enact, to establish. Let's see. It says here, this is Webster's 1828 dictionary. We must obey laws appointed and constituted by lawful authority. Right? So we must, if something has been appointed or if something has been constituted, these are the things that we would obey, because there are things that have been set in place. There have been things that are fixed, right? And so when we think about the Most High, right, he's giving Moshe these instructions to give to the children of Israel to enact these things, to set these things in order, right? These aren't judgments. These things aren't dependent upon situations or circumstances. These are things that are done. Do this, right? It's not up for discussion or debate, right? He's enacting these things. He's establishing these things, right? what's another thing it says over here? Enjoin. Enjoin. The English language is so kind of like, well, yeah. Let's get to the bottom of this thing. What's it saying? Like, let's see here. Where's the number one at? Oh, here we go. To order or direct with urgency. To admonish. See, this is what I like right here. To order or direct with urgency. I hate. I just gotta say I hate whenever I got something to say to these children around here, and there ain't no sense of urgency behind the things that I'm saying. Right? If I give a command, if I constitute something, right? If I enjoin something, I expect for this order, this thing to be set in order with urgency, right? I'm not saying whenever you get around to it, right? Could you, right? Could you, because that's a question, right? Could you, right? If I'm in a particular position where I'm making commands, right? There should be urgency involved, right? I want to make sure that I'm about to get done these things that the commander is commanding straight away, right? And so again, we think about the Most High giving instructions to Moses to give to the people. You know, this is something that he wants to get done, right? It's not about when you get around to it, right? But get this thing done. I'm saying what I need to happen. You make the thing happen. Charge, right? Make the thing happen. Okay. Also, when we look over here at this number 2, let's see if we go down in law, to forbid judicially, right? Again, this is something that's either it's something that's being allowed or disallowed, right? If I'm putting something in, if I'm constituting a thing, sometimes by very definition, if I'm saying thus is so, then the opposite also is so. If I make something be, then I'm forbidding other things that are kind of the opposite of this thing that I'm saying.
If you make a positive command, then the negative of that is not positive.
Right.
It's logic.
Right. So we got to think about these things. The Most High, he's logical. As much as some of these people out here want to try to make you to believe that he's not, I'm here to tell you that he's actually so logical, right? And so, okay, so again, we have this constitute, we have this enjoining, let's see, and we have this appoint. Let's see what this here says. Appoint. To fix, to settle, to establish, to make fast. You know, if you think about something that is here, let's see, the point. We go down here, look at this. When he appointed the foundations of the earth, right? It talks about that in Proverbs chapter 8. When he appointed the foundations of the earth, right? If that's something that, if we think about that, the foundation, how long ago he did that? He been did that way back in the day, right? He set those things in order, and they just been there, right? So it's not like a temporary thing, right? He's not just temporarily doing it, right? He's permanently doing it. He appointed this thing. He allotted this thing. He assigned this thing. He designated this thing, right? And so all of these things are incorporated in this word over here where it says, you shall charge the sons of Israel, right? And so when we think about this, this is some serious situations, right? And so again, when we think about the new covenant, we think about the Ruach inside of us, and we think about the commands in our heart, those things that the Most High constitutes or enjoins or appoints, which is actually his character. He appoints our character to our hearts, right? He enjoins his character into and makes fast in our hearts his character, so that we can actually walk out his will and his ways, right? And so, we got to think about all of these things when we think about the commands of the Most High. Where's my little whiteboard at? Grab that for me real quick, because we want to think about this some more. This word command. Also another. Let me see this. Let's think about this a little bit here. Thank you very much. So this word here, sava is a tzadi. I need this little. Oh, I've made it too big. Let me see the eraser real quick. Thank you very much. It's a tzadi. It's a vav. And it's a hey. And so a tzadi in the ancient. So this. Boop, boop, boop. Boop. Okay. So let's look at this here. We look at this. We look at this word sava over here. Let's get this part mixed up. So again, we look at this. It's a tzadi, which is a man on his side. Right? We can think about it as the man that's on his side, right? The tzadi. Then we also have the vav, which is a tent peg, right? The tent peg. And then the hey, of course, is the man with his arm raised. So that's giving you the idea of breath, right? This is giving you the idea of a supporter, a anchor, a tent peg, and a man on his side. So if we have a man on his side, right, that's being pinned or attached or connected to what causes him to move or be, which is his breath, right? We have a man on his side who's being attached to or connected to that which causes him to move or be, right? Which is his breath, right? So we think about the idea of a command from the Most High, right? We're connecting ourselves to the Most High, which is what actually causes us to move or be, right? Who gives us our breath in our lungs, right? So when we think about a command, right, this is very serious things, right? And again, it's not these optional things that he's putting forth. These are words of life, right? And so what he's about to say now is some important things, right? It's not just, he's not just speaking just to have his voice be heard, right? Which some people sometimes do, right? There is some things behind it. So we want to pay attention again to these things that he's commanding for the people to do, because again, we think about Yeshua, who is actually the manifestation of all of these things, right? And then, with us dealing with Yeshua in us, right? This means something for us, right? And so, okay, so if we go back to our verse over here, let's see here, 20. If we go back to our verse, right, the thing that he commanded them to do was that they bring you clear oil of beaten olives, right? Bring clear oil of pressed olives or beaten olives. So let's look at that, because they could have just brought any old oil, right? So, and they could have brought some clear oil too, right? Here, I didn't even put that on the screen. They could have brought clear oil, right? They could have brought some oil. They could have bought some clear oil, but he said, don't just bring me clear oil, but bring me clear oil that's of pressed olives for the light, right? And so we want to look at the specific parts of this and then see how it kind of relates to us, right? So if we look over here, let's see here. If we look over here, let's deal with this. Beaten. Katit, beaten, pure oil, right? Beaten. Let's see here. If we look at this, actually is the prime. The root is 3807, which is katat, which is to bruise or to violently strike, to beat, to break into pieces, crush, destroy, discomfit, smite, or stamp. And so when we think about, we're going to talk about this a little bit, but when we think about Paul uses, among others, Paul uses the imagery of Israel as an olive tree, right? If we go over to Romans, and we just talk about this beaten oil real quick here. But if we go over to Romans 11, let's start reading at 17, because Paul talks about Israel as an olive tree, right? What's that say at 17? Just read down. Just read, yeah.
And if some of the branches were broken off, and you, being a wild olive tree, have
hold that right there. You being a wild olive tree, you talking about the people of the Most High, right? A wild olive tree, right? Go ahead.
Have been grafted in among them, and came to share the root and fatness of the olive tree. Do not boast against the branches. And if you boast, remember, you do not bear the root, but the root bears you.
Mm-hmm.
You shall say then, the branches broken off, that I may be grafted in, good. By unbelief they were broken off, and you stand by belief. Do not be arrogant, but fear.
Mm-hmm.
For if Elohim did not spare the natural branches, he might not spare you either.
Mm-mm.
See then the kindness and sharpness of Elohim on those who fell sharpness, but toward you kindness. If you continue in his kindness, otherwise you shall also be cut off.
23.
And they also, if they do not continue in unbelief, shall be grafted in, for Elohim is able to graft them in again.
24. What I say?
For if you were cut out of the olive tree, which is wild by nature, and were grafted contrary to nature into a good olive tree, how much more shall these who are the natural branches be grafted into their own olive tree?
Okay, so he's talking about both Gentiles and natural Israel and comparing them both to olive trees, right? Whether they're this wild tree that was just growing or this natural tree, right? The wild Gentile being grafted into the natural olive tree, right? And so we see Paul over here has this imagery of an olive tree, right? Interesting. If we look, let's see here. Let's also go over to, because Paul didn't just make this imagery up, this whole olive tree Israel thing. He didn't make this up. If we go over to Yirmiyahu, let's see here. It's right there, 11. Start reading at verse 1. We talking about
prophetic pre.
I didn't hear the first thing she said.
So he didn't just make it up. He had prophetic,
Yeah. Right. It wasn't an original thought. He was piggybacking off of something that already was, right? And so we look at Yirmiyahu 11, verse 1. Okay, just start reading it. Read down to, let's see, again, we're talking about beaten olives, right? Start reading at verse 1 down to verse 6.
The word that came to Yirmiyahu from Yahweh, saying, hear the words to this covenant, and speak to the men of Yehuda, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And you shall say to them, thus said Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, cursed is the man who does not obey the words of this covenant, which I commanded your father.
Which I commanded, right? There's our word over here again. He's talking about commanding, the Most High's commanding things, right? Cursed is a man who does not obey these things that I put in place. I put these things in order. I enjoined these edicts to you. You need to be doing them. If you ain't doing them, then cursed are you, right? Go ahead.
In the day when I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim from the iron furnace, saying, obey my voice, and you shall do according to all that I command you. And again, you shall be my people, and I be your Elohim.
All right, keep on.
In order to establish the oath which I have sworn to your fathers, to give them a land flowing with milk and honey, as it is this day. And I answered and said, Amen, Yahweh. And Yahweh said to me, proclaim all these words in the city of Yehuda and in the streets of Jerusalem, saying, hear the words of this covenant and do them.
Okay, so we see who he's talking to. We see what he's talking about. Let's drop down. Read verse 16. What does that say?
Yahweh has made you.
What did he do?
Yahweh has named you. Green olive tree, beautiful,
goodly fruit. Yes.
With the noise of a great sound, he has set it on fire, and its branches shall be broken.
Okay, bad things happen, but nonetheless, he called Israel a green olive tree, right? And so when we think about back in what we're looking at in Exodus, Shemot, when he's talking about this pure beaten oil, which of course is the byproduct from the olive tree, right? So we think about the fact that he's commanding this oil to be drawn from this olive tree to be the fuel for the light. that burns continually. And again, if we think about this again from a spiritual perspective, we're talking about kind of the thing that comes out from the very midst of you, right? This pressed oil. And it's not just something that just kind of spills out naturally, because when you think about this whole, there is a type of oil that you could get if I was to just take some olives and kind of just softly kind of caress the thing. I might get a little bit of oily kind of residue on my fingers, right? But this is talking about something that is pressed, right? This is talking about something that is beaten, right? The beating part is necessary, right? The pressure part is necessary, right? The process that it goes through, the bruising and the violently being stricken, that part is crucial, is pivotal to the thing. Because again, he could have just said, bring me some clear oil, and you can get some clear oil another way.
Even when you think about juicing fruit and vegetables, if you press them to put that pressure on there to get the juice out, it maintains the nutrients.
Right.
If you spin it.
Yeah. We got two kind of juicers here in this house. One don't get used. One always gets used. There's one that squeezes it out, that wrenches. It literally wrenches the juice out of it. And then the other one's just like a blender, really, where it just blends it, right? Yeah, and centrifugal forces involved and all of that. But the wrenching one, right, where you're getting all those juices out of there, right? There's that extreme pressure that's being put on the things. This is the thing that this is the process upon which the Most High is commanding for the people to use in order to get this oil out. And so when we think about this again from a spiritual perspective, as the olive tree, right, and your fruit being the olive, right, and when we think about the fact that this kind of is a picture of what we're able to be, right? How much more so do we think we're going to go through so that pure, clear, pure beaten oil can come out of us to be the fuel for the light, right? These words are very interesting. To break in pieces, right? Something that's crushed, something that's destroyed. I like that one the best, right? Because we just want for our lives just to be so comfortable, right? Meanwhile, the Most High just trying to discomfort our whole situation, right? So that this pure, clear, beaten oil could come out of us, right?
People don't want to go through the wrenching.
They don't want to go through the wrenching. Nobody wants to go through the wrenching. Meanwhile, if we look at this thing, what the Most High is giving Moshe to give to the people is a necessary ingredient. He didn't say go and get these olives and take the most delicate process possible and use that process in order to get the oil out. He used a word that literally means to break in pieces, crush and destroy and discomfort so that you could get the oil out. And we think our situation is supposed to be just this wonderful thing. What did I do wrong? I love the Most High. I keep the Shabbat. I do his holy days. I don't eat unclean things. Why is my life so messed up? Because the Most High is crushing you in pieces and destroying you and discomforting you so that that fine, clear, beaten oil could come out of you to burn the candle to continually. Let me put some more verses on this. If we go over here, Yeshua, if we look at this we got red letters. Yeshua said this, what he said. Let's see, 10:38. 10:38. What'd I say? Hold on, let me put it up here. Go ahead.
And he who does not take up his stake and follow after me is not worthy of me.
Very good. You are not worthy of Messiah if you not being broken pieces, crushed, destroyed, and discomfited. That's what this says over here. Take up his stake. That's the torture stake. That's whenever Yeshua went up there and got broken into pieces, crushed, destroyed, and discomfited. He who does not take up his own torture stake and then follows after me is not worthy of me, he said. Hold up, let me see this here. Let me see this here. Look at it. Look at that. Look, that's red letters, right? Yeshua said that. That's what that means. That's what Yeshua has said, right? Not worthy. He don't want no pristine, uncrushed followers. Them people not worthy of him, he said. If you ain't been through the pressure, you are not worthy to follow after me. That's what he said. That's what Yeshua said right there.
So we should count it an honor to be crushed. And all that.
Yes.
Because that's crushing is making us. That crushing is proving us.
It's proving us. It's making you. It's causing you to be worthy. That's your torture stake. Right? And we got to remember this, right? Again, if we thinking about the fact that the Most High calls us olive trees, right? We look over here and in this command to get this fuel for the light, the only thing that's used for it is this clear, pure, beaten olive oil. And then if we couple that with this over here, where he's sitting up here saying, if you don't take up this thing, this torture stake, this thing that causes you to be broken in pieces, crushed, destroyed, and discomfited, if you don't take that thing up and follow after me, you're not even worthy of me. And so again, you know, this life that we live, if you ain't got no crushing, if you ain't got no crushing, breaking in pieces, destroying or discomforting things that's causing you to be discomforted, if your comfort hasn't been discomfited, you're probably in gross iniquity. If your whole situation is perfect, nothing wrong, everything in place and in order, you don't got no problems whatsoever, you're probably in gross iniquity. I'm just gonna say that. You probably just the filthiest of sinners. I'm just gonna say that. If your whole situation is perfect, it's something wrong with you from a moral standpoint.
We have a question.
What is it? What is it?
Hold on, let me make sure I get it right.
Where the question at? It ain't on here?
No. So the oil is equivalent to the fruits of the spirit? Question.
Oil.
Is the oil equivalent to the fruits of the spirit?
There's the connected, I would say connected, equivalent, maybe I wouldn't say equivalent, connected, because you think about the oil, if we look at the oil, right, it's the fuel that causes it to burn, right? And so if we was thinking about the candle, the fire, the light will be the fruit, right? But the thing that is the fuel is the oil. And so what we have to be able to do is to allow the Most High to squeeze us, to pressure us, to allow the spirit that he places inside of us to be manifest. Right. And so when the pressure squeezing us is squozing and that pure oil is caused to come out, right? That's the ruach in us. But we got to move our carnality, our flesh out of the way so the spirit could grow inside of us. So the fruits of the spirit would actually be the manifestation of that oil being used. It's that's going to be the byproduct. If we think about a candle with oil, the byproduct is the fire and the heat, right? And so the spirit in us being moved and manifests then causes the fruit, the fruits of the spirits.
What you see on the outside.
Yeah, the manifestation, right? So they're connected, right? But it's not kind of like exact, right? It's but it's part of the process. Yes, absolutely. Okay. All right, got another verse for you here. Let's look at this. We still talking about the same thing. All right. If you go over here, let's see. Hebrews. Let's look at Hebrews 2. Hebrews 2, 10 and 11. Hold on, let me make this bigger here. What'd I say?
For it was fitting for him, because of whom all are, and through whom all. Wait.
Let's start over.
Okay. For it was fitting for him, because of whom all are, and through whom all are, in bringing many sons to esteem, to make the prince of their deliverance perfect through suffering.
All right, hold that. So it says that to make the prince of their deliverance perfect through sufferings. To make the prince of their deliverance, there is the many sons that was brought to glory, which is essentially us, right? Yeah. To make the prince of their deliverance perfect. I don't know why the author's taking himself out of the equation, right? Because there is our is right, but the prince of their deliverance perfect through sufferings. How you supposed to be made perfect if you got no sufferings? If you got no beatings? If you got no breaking in pieces? If you got no crushing, you got no discomforting? Because over here, the prince, he's talking about Yeshua, the prince of their deliverance, to make the prince of their deliverance perfect through sufferings. That's how he was made perfect, through suffering. So how much more so do you think that you're going to be made perfect through sufferings? Right? We should be rejoicing when some sufferings happens. Right? Why in the world this terrible? Why in the world this terrible thing happened to me? Oh my goodness. I don't know. It sounded pretty crazy. The war might be starting outside. But anyway, why should we be sorrowful, sad, when we experience these things when Yeshua is perfected through sufferings? That's how we actually are perfected, through sufferings. What's verse 11 say?
For both he who sets apart and those who are being set apart are all of one. For which reason he is not ashamed to call them brothers.
Okay, so he and those who are being set apart. He that's set apart, Yeshua, and those that are being set apart, followers of Yeshua, are all one, for which reason he is not ashamed to call them, us, those that are being set apart, brothers. Yeshua, your brother, because you suffer like he suffered. If you ain't suffered like he suffered, you're not worthy. You're not his brother. Right? That's what he said. And that's what the writer over here says over here. Okay? And so we need that pressure. We need that bruising. We need that that violent striking. We need to be beat down to pieces, crushed, destroyed, and discomforted so that pure oil could come out. Right? So that here, let's go back over here. Let's go back to our
be destroyed and not have any benefit towards us.
Right, because when we think about the idea of being destroyed, we talking about what we talking about? We talking about that our carnality is the thing that's being destroyed. Right? That's the only way the spirit can be manifest in us, is that carnality be destroyed. Right? Your flesh and your spirit can't occupy the same. Nothing can occupy. Two things can't occupy one space at a time. Only one thing is able to occupy one particular space. One thing got to be moved out the way. In this case, we're talking about the one thing got to be crushed in pieces, destroyed, and discomforted. That's your carnality, that's your flesh, so that the spirit could come out. Right? And so if we go back over here, back to our verse over here, bring this clear oil of pressed oils for the light, right? The oil is for the light. It is the fuel for the light. It's the way that the light is even able to be manifest, right? Can't no light be manifest in you if you don't have the clear oil of pressed olives. It can't be manifest. Right? To cause the lamp to burn continually. So let's look over here. Look at this. Go ahead. What?
I just wanted to say that this is one of the reasons that when people come to the faith, it's like, you're proven, you get proven. You know what I mean? Situations occur, adversities happen. People come in, they could be real gung-ho when they first come in the door, of course, but the proving of them over the time.
Most High will make you a lie in a minute. In a minute, will make you a lie. He said, you said you're going to do what? He said, who your master? Who your master? Okay, let's see. That's what's going to happen. You sit up there and say, I love Messiah. He's my master. He's my Lord. There's nothing that I won't do for him. And then he gonna see if what you say is the truth. Right? He gonna squeeze you. Right? He gonna pressure you. He gonna discomfort you. Right? And see what come out. Right? This is the thing that we have to expect. This is what's expected. The torture stake. Pick it up. Carry it. Because if you can't pick it up, if you can't carry it, Yeshua said you're not worthy. You're not worthy. That's what he said. You're not worthy. If you can't carry your torture stake and follow me. So you're not even picking up the torture stake. You picking it up and carrying it. You moving it. You living with it. You living with the torture stake. because you're moving it from one place to another, to wherever he is, and you following him to the ends of the earth.
I think about having to carry a child around. You're out somewhere, they stop walking, they don't want to walk anymore.
Yeah, it's all right when they little kids, but when they get bigger, like you get to carry them little things all over the place. You don't even hardly mind carrying the kid because it's your baby. It's my baby. It's my baby, right? But think about carrying the thing that's built to torture you. You're carrying the thing that's built to cause you pain and kill you. When you sit up here and proclaim Yeshua, you're literally carrying around the thing that's built to destroy your carnal mind, your flesh, right? Your carnality, all the things that you are used to loving and holding on to. Your new master hates those things and wants to beat them out of you.
And when you're going through those trials, and don't you have to have perseverance as well?
Yeah, it's part of the situation, right? Because if you go through this or that halfway, then you failed the test, right? So perseverance is part of the situation. We have to be one of those words that we looked at when we talk about what a command is, right? It's something being fast in us. So being steadfast. That's what faith is, being immovable, right? So if I don't have perseverance, then I don't have faith, right? If it only matters if I say that I love Messiah all the way up until the time where I said that I didn't. It didn't matter. All of that stuff before that didn't matter, right? I make it all null and void as soon as I say that he's not my master, right? So you got to have that. You got to have that as part of the package deal, right? And so again, now you got to have this clear beaten oil for the light to cause the lamp to burn. I want to look at this real quick. The lamp to burn, which is Allah, which is to ascend, right? To arise, right? To cause to ascend up, right? To break the day, right? To bring up, cause to burn, carry up, cast up, right? Dawn, right? Exalt. All these things is giving you this idea of something that's going up, to grow, to increase, right? And so when we think about this again, we think about this idea of this from a spiritual perspective. Now, again, we're talking about this spirit that's in us. We want to come out. We want the manifestation of the Ruach HaKodesh in our lives, right? It's already in our hearts, but we want it to be manifest in our lives, right? So again, we look at this thing, we have this oil. You got this oil, but you want the thing to burn, right? You got that Ruach, but you want to walk in it. It don't do you no good to have the spirit, but don't walk in it. It don't do you no good to have this clear, fine, pressed oil and it don't never burn. It has to be manifest in your life continually, right? Regularly, constantly, perpetually, right? That word literally means daily, tamid. It literally means to stretch out, right? To stretch out. So that thing, you have that thing there and it's just being stretched out, right? Regularly, right? You don't stop doing it. You don't stop burning. You continually burn. There's constantly a display of light emanating from your situation, right? There's a permanent exhibit of light coming up off of you, right? And that light don't never go out, right? You're continually manifesting the Ruach HaKodesh. It's not like a periodical thing, right? It's not like a flicker. This thing ain't flickering, right? If your light's flickering, you got to do something. You got to turn the light bulb. It's loose a little bit or something. It's running out of oil or something. It got to get filled up or something. Right? When you think about this as being commanded for the priests to sit up here and do, they had to make sure that that thing burned all the time. If it looked like it started to flicker, they put some more oil in there so it could keep on burning. Right? This thing had to burn continually. So they had to tend to it. They had to watch it. They had to do all the things that was necessary to keep the thing burning. That's what we got to do. That. Right? We got to be able to look and see, oh, hold on, man. This my situation is getting a little flickerish. I got to do something about this. Right? My light needs to be manifesting, not just kind of not like dimming out, right? It needs to be increasing, burning, growing, right? Stretching. And so understanding that Yeshua is the light, right? And so Yeshua's reach or touch or manifestation inside of us has to be increasing in our situation so that he can forever be manifesting inside of us, so that he could be manifesting outside of us and through us. Let's look at this real quick. Let's see here. Make this bigger here. Wow. And again, this is the new covenant. The spirit in you is the new covenant. We gotta understand this for the naysayers, right? Because they out there telling people that we ain't in the new covenant because we're not in the land, because we in exile. But they don't have I'm just gonna say they don't have an understanding of what it is that Yeshua has done. They don't get it. What does it say right here? 23.
Yeshua answered him, "If anyone loves me, he shall guard my word, and my Father shall love him, and we shall come to him and make our stay with him."
Hold on. King James say we will come make our abode with him. It say my Father will love him, and we will come unto him and make our abode, our house. We setting up shop in you. He's talking about the Ruach HaKodesh. He's talking about the spirit in your heart, causing you to keep his commandments. He's talking about the new covenant. He's talking about that oil, that fuel for that fire that you supposed to let burn all the time. All the time, continually burning. Okay, we didn't sign up for a part-time job. Right? This ain't no part-time job.
Seasonal.
It's not seasonal, it's not part-time. It's full-time. 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It ain't like working in the union where you get laid off all the time, get different employers. Right? You got one employer, that's Yeshua. And you ain't never getting laid off. Right? You working all the time. It's constant overtime. All the time. Right? You don't get no days off for being light. You don't get no days off from walking in righteousness. Right? And just remember, when it seemed like you getting beat down, battered, and bruised, it's really just making that oil pure so you could burn brighter. That's all it's doing.
Oh man.
Let's look over here real quick. Let's look at Ephesians chapter 3, 14. 14, here, let me make this bigger. Read down through 19.
Okay. For this reason, I bow my knees to the Father of our Master Yahweh, Yeshua Messiah, from whom all fatherhood in the heavens and earth is named, in order that he might give you, according to the riches of his esteem, by power, to be strengthened in the inner man through his Spirit.
To be strengthened in the inner man through his Spirit. The only way you're going to be strengthened in your inner man through his Spirit is by his Spirit being in you. The scripture don't talk about the Spirit being in you, less it's talking about his commands being put in you, his character being put in you, and you walking out that character that he done put inside of you. That's a new covenant. That's that oil in you. That's you being that light and burning. Keep on 17.
That the Messiah might dwell in your heart.
Look at the language that he's saying, that Messiah might dwell in your hearts. Messiah, who is actually the living word, that he, the living word, might dwell in your hearts. Good.
Through belief, having become rooted and grounded in love, in order that you might be strengthened to firmly grasp with all the set apart ones what is the width and length and depth and height. You know the love of Messiah which surpasses knowledge, in order that you might be filled to all the completeness of Elohim.
Okay, very good. So we look over here, we see yet another example of Paul speaking using this new covenant language, helping for us to be able to understand the things that Yeshua has done in us, which is putting that spirit in us, putting that pure beaten oil in us, causing us to shine and be that light that originates from Yeshua dwelling, making his abode in us, causing us to be shining examples of righteousness through his power, through his spirit. Okay. All right. So let's go back over here to the Torah portion because we see some other things. Understanding, right? It's easy for us to look and understand and see when we look at the menorah, you know, how that is a picture of us being a light. And we see that oil, you know, that oil is easy for us to look at that oil and see the example of that Ruach HaKodesh inside of us, right? So let's keep on looking over here. If we look at, we go back to Exodus. Let's look at 28 and start reading at verse 1. Let's see how far we want to go down. Let's read down to uh, verse 5.
And you bring near Aaron your brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel for serving as priests to me. Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar, the sons of Aaron. And you shall make set apart garments for Aaron your brother for esteem and for comeliness. And you speak to all the wise of heart whom I have filled with a spirit of wisdom, and they shall make the garments of Aaron to set him apart for him to serve as a priest to me. And these are the garments which they make: a breastplate, a shoulder garment, a robe, an embroidered long shirt, a turban, and a girdle. And they shall make set apart garments for Aaron your brother and his sons for him to serve as priests to me. And they shall take the gold and the blue and the purple and the scarlet material and the fine linen,
Read 6.
and shall make the shoulder garment of gold, of blue and purple and scarlet material and fine woven linen, the work of a skilled worker.
Okay, very good. So if we go back up to verse number 2, where it says, "You shall make set apart garments for Aharon, your brother, for esteem and for comeliness, for glory and for beauty." Right? You're making these clothes for the high priest, for glory and for beauty. If we look at this over here, glory, kabod, properly weight, right? If we look at this word here, the root, kabad, to be heavy, right? When we think about glory, right? This thing that's weighty, right? This thing that's weighty, that's heavy, but it's also light, right? So we think about this thing that is glorious, that is splendorous, right? This thing is about light, right? It's about heavy, weighty light, right? It's glorious, right? When we think about the presence of the Most High, we think about gloriousness, right? We think about this light, this incomprehensible light, this light that we can't even fathom or begin to be able to dwell in the same place as, right? He is so glorious. The light is so heavy, right? That we are overcome, right? If we was to be in the same vicinity as this light, right? This kavod, right? And so when we look at these garments that was created for the high priest, it was to have this representation of gloriousness, right? It was they were supposed to look at this and be like, wow, that is just the most glorious thing that I've ever seen. Right? It wasn't supposed to be like this old plain old just white thing that didn't have no sparkle. That thing was full of sparkle.
And all kinds of gems.
All kinds of precious jewels all over. Right? Different types of colors and things. Right? The whole point and purpose of it, what it was for, right? Make the holy garments for your brother for glory, for gloriousness, right? For what's that word? Copiousness. Copiousness. Hold on, what do that word even? Copious. That's a word right there. Copiousness. Let me pull that up. Abundance, plenty, great quality, full supply. That thing is just full, is a full supply of light and heaviness, right? There's great quantities. Copiousness, right? But this is the whole point of it. This is the whole point of the thing is glory, right? And beauty, right? Glory and beauty and Tifara, ornament, right? This word that means ornament, beauty, beautiful. The scripture says comeliness, majesty, glorious, right? Fair, right? Just beautiful, right? An ornament is just this thing that is just like it's this thing that you maybe you put this little thing on you that is just this fancy little thing that you don't put on yourself, right? To kind of bring a sense of beautification, right? But this whole his whole outfit was made for those purposes, right? The thing was flashy on purpose. It wasn't regular.
Over the top.
It was indeed over the top, especially in comparison to the other priests. The high priest was indeed high.
They had his underclothes.
Basically, they basically had the undergarments of the high priest. They didn't have all of this copiousness incorporated in their situation, right? There wasn't no embellishment in their situation, right? All they had was just regular old, just white. But the high priest had beautifulness and gloriousness. That was the whole point of the thing, right? And so when we think about this, now, it gives us the thought process of this being something that's a message for both the priests and the people. Right? When we think about the people now, the people looked at the priest. They looked towards the priest as this example of holiness. Right? The priest was at the highest level of set apartness among all the people. The priest was. And he was the example. He was the standard of people walking around of holiness that the people looked to if they wanted to see what the epitome of holiness was. They had something to look to, and it looked good. It wasn't just some old regular thing. It looked good. It looked holy. It looked set apart. It looked like no other. He didn't look regular. He didn't look like everybody else. Right? Just the sight of the high priest caused the people to think about holiness.
He understand. He wasn't mixed in the crowd.
No,
He was
if he was in the crowd, you was able to pick him out of the crowd because of the fact of his gloriousness and his beautifulness, his comeliness and his gloriousness.
Oh my goodness.
And so it helps for us to be able to think about also, okay, so also, right, it was a message for the priests and the people. The people looked at the priest in a way, but then the priest also, then he would have to, I'm sure he had to conduct himself in a way that was always an exemplification of who he was and the position that he was in. He couldn't just be any old way as the high priest. He couldn't be walking around dragging his beautifulness in the mud, because the whole point of the thing was for glory and beauty. So he wasn't able to have his glory and his beauty that he wore be anything else other than that. Right? So he had an image to uphold. The priest did. And the people, they looked towards him. So when we think about the role of the priest, the role towards the people looked at the priest, and he was the closest thing to the Most High, to the people. Now, when we think about over here, let's see, we read verse 6 where it talks about this ephod, right? If we keep on going, let's read down some more, because we want to talk more about this beautifulness some before we go further into this. Let's talk about this beautifulness some. Let's go back over. Let's get rid of this real quick. Let's read 7. Let's go to 7 and read down some more at this beautifulness that we have, with the priests. Go ahead, verse 7. Read down to, let's see, I don't know, 14.
It is to have 2 shoulder pieces joined at its 2 edges, and so it is joined together. And the embroidered band of the shoulder garment, which is on it, is of the same workmanship, made of gold, of blue and purple and scarlet material, and fine woven linen. And you shall take 2 show him stones, and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel, 6 of their names on one stone, and the remaining 6 on the other stone, according to their birth. Which, with the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of a signet, engrave the 2 stones with the names of the sons of Israel. Get them in settings of gold, and you shall put the 2 stones on the shoulder pieces of the shoulder garment as stones of remembrance for the sons of Israel. And Aaron shall bear their names before Yahweh on his 2 shoulders for a remembrance. And you shall make settings of gold and 2 chains of clean gold like braided cords, and fasten the braided chains to the setting.
Okay, very good. So verse 12 says that you shall put the two stones that had the names of the tribes of Israel on them. Put the two stones on the shoulder pieces on the shoulder garment as stones of remembrance for the sons of Israel. Aaron shall bear the names before Yahweh on his two shoulders. Right? So it says that he bore the names of the sons of Israel on his shoulders. The priest did. Right? This was part of his situation, right? Because the priest was indeed a mediator between the nation and the Most High. The priest was, right? He was a mediator. He bore Israel on his shoulders when he went before the Most High, that he might remember the sons of Israel when he appeared before the Most High with his fancy clothes and his ephod. Okay, so this priest was this representative of the Most High to the people. And then before the Most High, he was a representative of the people, right? He came on behalf of the people to the Most High, and he came on behalf of the Most High to the people. The priest did, the high priest, right? And so when we think about this, when we think about all of this, we think about the fact that the priest and his job and what he did, is very important when we think about, who we are and what we do as representatives of the Most High, right? It's a direct correlation, right? If we think about the high priest, what they did for the people, it's a direct correlation in terms of who we are in Messiah. If we drop down, I want to look at a couple more things before I go into this more. We'll drop all the way down because I want to look at some other things. We drop all the way down. Look, it's more beautifulness, right? If we look at this, we have this breastplate. We got this breastplate that he wore on top, right? That had all of these jewels in it, right? There's rubies and topaz and emerald and turquoise, sapphire, diamonds, jacinth, agate. I don't even know what that is. Amethyst, beryl, shoham, jasper, all set in gold.
In gold.
He had all these beautiful, wonderful things, jewels, all set in gold. Right on his chest, this big, beautiful chest plate, right? And all of these stones. So all of the stones. So he had the names of Israel on his shoulders, and he had them on his chest so he had them on his shoulders and on his heart. The priest did. Right? All of these things, the breastplate, all of this down, but we want to go down. I want to look at two more things. 35. Read 35 here.
Okay.
All the beautifulness. We're just looking at beautifulness. Look, fanciness, bells of pomegranates on his hems, right? This golden bell pomegranate. All of this beautifulness. Go ahead, read verse 35.
And it shall be upon Aaron to attend in, and its sound shall be heard when he goes into the set apart place before Yahweh, and when he comes out, so that he does not die.
Okay, now remember, this set apart place is not the most set apart place. This is the place where the table of showbread is, where the incense of the altar of incense, the menorah, all of the things is in the set apart place, not the most set apart place. Because the one time when he goes into the most set apart place, he takes off all of the beautifulness. So the beautifulness is for the people, right? The beautifulness is for the people, it's not for the Most High. When he goes before the Most High, the priest just has on regular whiteness. The Most High said, "You're not gonna come up in here with all of that beautifulness. I'm the most beautifulest thing uh, around." So when he went in the presence of the Most High, he took all that stuff off. He just was regular, just white. But he just looks like a regular priest. But when he went into the set apart place, not the most set apart place, he still had on his things, right? All of the things, all of this beautifulness, right?
It makes sound.
He just walked around just jingling.
Around.
He just was jingling when he walked around with these jewels and all of these things, right? Okay, but 36.
And you shall make a plate of clean gold and engrave on it like the engraving of a signet. Set apartness to Yahweh.
Holy to Yahweh, right? So he has the people on his heart. He got the people on his shoulder. And he got the Most High on his mind. Right? Holy unto Yahweh. So when he's going around, he got the people on his shoulder. He got the people on his heart. He got the people's well-being in his heart, on his shoulders. He's a representative of the Most High to the people. The people look at him. They're able to go and deal with him and have him go and go before the Most High on behalf of the people. He got his engraved, it says on this thing that's on his hat, holiness unto Yahweh. And so again, when we think about us and who we are in Yeshua, in and through Yeshua, this is a representative of who we are. Holy unto Yahweh. Right? This is who we are in the Most High. Holy unto Yahweh. And just like when we think about the candles, we think about the menorah, the fire that burns continually. We think about the fact that this is a full-time job. We're always this. We always holy unto Yahweh. We got this hat that says it because that's always on our mind. Read this right here, verse. Hold on, let me make it big. Verse 4. Just start reading right there. Verse 4.
Okay. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh is one, and you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your being, and with all your might. And these words which I have commanded you today shall be in your heart, and you shall impress them upon your children, and shall speak of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up.
8.
And shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes.
When we think about the fact that this high priest sat up there and had this thing written on his head, holy to Yahweh, that's the same thing as what this is over here, having Yahweh on his mind at all times. What's the difference between that and this? if I'm sitting around talking about the Most High when I'm sitting, or when I'm walking, or when I'm laying, or when I get up, when I rise up, he's always on my mind. That's Willie Nelson, right? Right? That's all I know about him anyway. But I'm just saying, he's always on our minds, right? We're talking about you'll bind them as a sign in your hand and in the frontlets between your eyes. The Most High is always on your mind, and specifically the fact that you are holy unto him. That defines you. That's a definition of you.
Oh.
Someone that's holy unto Yah. Holy unto Yah. What did I say? Hold on. What 5 and 6? What did I say?
And now, if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession among all the peoples, for all the earth is mine. And you shall be to me a reign of priests and a set apart nation. Those are the words which you are to speak to the children of Israel.
It says, you shall be a kingdom of priests and a set apart nation. A kingdom of priests and a set apart nation. When we think about the high priest was a walking around example of the Most High. And then he had this thing on his head. He couldn't see the thing because it was on his head. But when the people looked at him, they seen that he was holy unto Yahweh. So if you're a priest of the Most High and you are a nation of people, a whole nation of people that's set apart, what do that say? What do that say? This says, well, this wasn't just for them. This is for us in Yeshua too. What did I say?
But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a set apart nation, a people for a possession, that you should proclaim the praises of him who called you out of the darkness into his marvelous light.
This is our reality. This is our reality, that we are this temple. This is our reality, that we are this menorah. This is our reality, that we are these priests. Right? This is our reality, that we are this holy place. Right? That we are this light that always shines, that don't run out. Right? That we are these representatives of holiness to the people. We can be both a representative of holiness and unholiness simultaneously, because you moonlighting. You can't sit up here and have this other job when you got this full-time job of holiness. So how you gonna have a part-time job of unholiness? The Most High ain't about this moonlighting stuff. You got one job, and that's holiness. You can't be sitting up here wasting his time, because you got a 24-hour gig. It's 24 hours. The menorah couldn't go out. It always had to shine.
Yeah.
The only time the priest took off his high priest garments was to go before the Most High. when the people seen him, they seen that. They seen beauty. They seen glory. They seen magnificent. They seen the people seen that the priest had them in mind. That's what they saw. And so again, we got to think about that as the people of the Most High when we walk around.
You can't send mixed signals.
You can't be out here sending these mixed signals. People can't look at you and be like, hold on, didn't I just see him with some priest garments on the other day? I thought he worked for Yeshua. Why he out here looking like he working for Hasatan? Who is boss? I can't even tell. We always supposed to be walking around here in our company outfits. Our uniforms, right? With the company logo on us, which is Yeshua, which is righteousness, right? Which is set apartness, holiness. That's your uniform that you walk around in holiness, right? When people look at you, they supposed to understand that you holy unto Yahweh. Not just on Shabbat, because that's a part-time job. That's like 1 day a week. 1 day a week. What is that? If I had a job for 1 day a week, what's that doing? They ain't doing. That's a hobby. A job that you got for 1 day a week is a hobby. That's not even no job. You just do that just for fun. If I got a job for 1 day a week, that's just for fun. That's just for play. Right? But this is a full, he said, let that clear beaten oil burn continually. The light don't go out. The priests walk around always with them fancy clothes on, and the people knew who he was and what he stood for, which was holiness unto Yahweh.
It said that the old linen garments, they would rip those up in shreds for the wicks.
They couldn't even, those things, since they were set apart, they was always set apart. It's not like how you sit up here and you take your old shirt and you use it to wash the car with. Or I use some old cut up t-shirts and clean my guns with it. Right? But the priest's garments was always set apart for holiness. So when they didn't wear them no more, they burned them on it as the wicks, because they was always set apart for holiness.
They couldn't be used for any other purpose but holy.
There ain't no thought of being unset apart. The idea of unset apartness, it don't jive, because again, we're talking about a command. Now, this is the thing that the Most High done set up in order. He says it's going to be like this. And that's how it is forever. Right? And so this set apartness that we enjoy, that we exhibit, is forever. Right? And it don't stop. Can't stop. Won't stop. Right?
Yeah.
Let's look at this over here. 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians 5:14. We priests up in here. We menorahs up in here. Read that.
For the love of Messiah compels us, having judged this, that if one died for all, then all died. And he died for all, that those who live should no longer live for themselves, but for him who died for them and was raised.
Okay, stop right there. It said right there, if one died for all, it said then all died. If Yeshua died for all, that means us, those that follow him, we all died. He died for all. that those who live should no longer live for themselves. If when we look at this thing and talk about the idea of living for yourself, that's you not picking up that torture state. You living for yourself. That's you not allowing for your oil, your olive to be beaten and destroyed and discomfited, right? But because of the fact that the love of Messiah compels us, the love of Messiah moves us, right? We live unto him, right? And again, this thing is forever. It don't stop. It keep on going, right? And so 16 said what?
So from now onwards, we know one according to the flesh. And if we have known Messiah according to the flesh, yet now we no longer know him thus.
Okay, again, so from now onwards, forever, it says we know no one according to the flesh.
We was on that verse today in the woman's study. We was on that verse.
Oh, you was?
Yeah, we was on that.
We not supposed to be sitting up here looking at people according to the flesh because we can't even see them according to the flesh because the flesh done been killed already.
We was on that verse today.
Right? The flesh is dead. So how can I look at you according to the flesh when your flesh is dead and the spirit is raised? Your flesh done been discomfited already. Right now, we about that Ruach, how it said from now onwards. We know no one according to the flesh because of the fact that Yeshua is now in us, right? Because of the fact that now we are this menorah burning and continually burning and never going out. Now we are this priest that's walking around all shiny and new in our set apartness, and we ain't never being unset apart, right? That's what we talking about over here when we look at this, right? 17, what does it say?
Therefore, if anyone is in Messiah, he is a renewed creature. The old matters have passed away. See, all matters have become renewed.
I can't see them old ones, the old you no more, because you ain't manifesting that one no more. Now all I see is the new one, the one that been made new. Because look, I remember, because I'm looking at you according to what Messiah has done in you. I'm looking at you now according to the fact that he done took them olives and crushed down all the skin and the flesh of the olives, and now ain't nothing but that clear, pure oil that's used for fuel for the fire. Okay. 18.
And all matters are from Elohim, who has restored us to favor with himself through Yeshua, Messiah. And he has given us the service of restoration to favor.
He gave you a job. He gave you a task, right? Which is the service of restoration to favor, right? You have become a priest of the Most High. You got a duty and a job and a task. You've been called to the duty of being a menorah, and now your job is to shine light, right? He has given us the service of restoration of favor. 19.
That is Elohim was in Messiah restoring the world to favor unto.
Hold on. He is restoring the world to favor unto himself. He's restoring the world. The way that he restores the world to favor unto himself is through your obedience as the priest, as the menorah.
That's interesting. Or through our obedience.
Through your obedience. The way that he is restoring the world to favor is through you. Just like we look back at Deuteronomy, I forget what it is, chapter 10, maybe 12 or 10:18 or something like that. When we said, hold on, what do 10:18 say?
What?
Where's my Bible at?
You want me to pull it up while you get your Bible?
My Bible was down here. Where's my Bible? Yeah, see if you can pull it up. I say this verse all the time. It's Deuteronomy. I gotta look at it in my Bible to find it. I think it's 10:18. Yeah, it is 10:18. It's 10:17 and 18. It's 10:17 and 18. For Yahweh, your Elohim, is Elohim of Elohims, Master of masters, great Elohim, a mighty and terrible, which regards not persons nor takes reward. He, Yahweh, doth execute judgment of the fatherless and the widow, and loves the stranger, and gives him food and raiment. The way that he does that is through you doing it. The way that his character is executed is through your obedience. The way that the world is restored unto favor unto himself is through your obedience, through you actually being a light all the time, not taking days off, calling in sick. It's to you being a priest, always wearing your garments, not letting people look at you and see some regular man.
Regular person.
They looking at you seeing righteousness and holiness.
When you slip up, you apologize. Come back. Be like, you know what?
Yeah. Because you got a job. You got a job. That job is the service of restoration to favor. Right? Keep on going right here. Not reckoning.
That is, not reckoning their trespasses to them, and has committed to us the word of restoration to favor.
He committed to us the word of restoration to favor. He committed to us a job that we need to sit up here and do. Right? Ain't no days off. You can't take off. We won't get no holidays. Well, we do get holidays, but them holidays is unto the Most High. Huh?
Teachers gotta go to work on in-service.
That is right. That is right.
We don't have vacation.
Nah, ain't no vacation in holiness. Ain't no vacation in righteousness. Ain't no vacation in set apartness. He committed us to the word of restoration of favor and to the service of restoration of favor. What verse 20 say?
Therefore, we are envoys on behalf of Messiah, as though Elohim were pleading through us. We beg on behalf of Messiah be restored.
That's so plain. He said, what did it say? We are ambassadors or envoys on behalf of Messiah. We're representatives of Messiah, right? As through Elohim, as though the Most High is pleading through us. We're the ones that doing it. He's pleading through us. But how he pleading through you if your light is flickering? How is he pleading through you if your light done went out? He ain't pleading through you. He ain't doing nothing through you if your light is out. He not doing nothing through you if you done took your
That circuit got broken.
If the light, there's a disconnect. We beg on behalf of Messiah, be restored to favor with Elohim. And you do that by walking around with your light on, not off. That's how you beg on behalf of Messiah, by walking around with your light on, not off. with your garments of beauty and
The
and gloriousness on.
jingling sound.
Yeah.
Coming.
Where they know here come holiness. When people look at you, they're supposed to be like, here come holiness. Here come righteousness. Here come the representative of Messiah. Here come the ambassador of Yeshua. Verse 21.
For he made him who knew no sin to be sin for us, so that in him we might become the righteousness of Elohim.
So that we might become the righteousness of, that's who you are. You are the righteousness of Elohim. It's not something that you do, it's something that you are. Okay? You are the light. You are the menorah. You are the priest. That's your job. That's what you do. Let's look over here real quick. Ezekiel 43. Let's look at verse 10. Read 10 through 12.
Okay, son of man, explain the house to the house of Israel, and when they are ashamed to their
Hold on, start over again. Verse 10.
Son of man, explain the house to the house of Israel, and when they are ashamed of their crookedness, they shall measure the measurements. And since they shall be ashamed of all that they did, make known to them the design of the house and its structure and its exits and its entrances, its entire design and all its laws and all its forms and all its tarot, and write it down before their eyes, so that they observe its entire design and all its laws, and shall do them. This is the Torah of the house upon the mountaintop of all of the boundary, all the boundary of it all around is most set apart. See, this is the Torah of the house.
Okay, very good. He said describe. He said announce. He said expose. He said explain. Right? He said to rehearse the house to the house of Israel. When he sat up there and he told the people the measurements, the infrastructure, the design of the house, he said, and when they are ashamed of their crookedness, they shall measure the measurements. So the people, when they heard the construction of the tabernacle, the temple, the house of Yahweh, they was brought to shame. Because they saw the beauty, and the thing that it causes you to do is to think about the Most High, right? When they saw the house of the Most High, it caused them to be ashamed in their crookedness, because they saw a wall, they saw a boundary, they saw a standard, and when they saw that standard, they also saw where they was at. and they saw where they needed to be, but they realized they wasn't able to be there because of their crookedness.
They was in their own way.
They was in their own way, right? But then they became ashamed of their crookedness, comparatively speaking. Verse 11 said, and since they shall be ashamed of all they did, make known to them the design of the house and the structures, exits, entrances, all of the places. And so again, when we think about this whole idea of the Most High causing us to be this or that, causing us to be these representatives of Yeshua, causing us to be these ambassadors of Messiah, causing us to be this this menorah, this priest, right? If we're not doing that in a faithful way, then how are people supposed to look at us and feel ashamed about what they're doing?
They feel good about what they're doing.
They
see you doing it too.
It's not gonna work. You messing up. If people could look at you and if people could look at you and what you do for the Most High, and it don't cause them shame about what they doing, then there's something wrong. Either they not doing nothing that's wrong, or you ain't doing what you supposed to be doing right. Because there's a difference. There got to be a difference. When we look over here at what happened over in Ezekiel 43, he sat up there and described the house of the Most High to the people who was in iniquity, and it pulled them out of their iniquity because they was able to see their iniquity. If you gonna sit up here and talk to somebody about their iniquity, but your righteousness look just like their iniquity, what you doing? There's a difference, right? That's what set apartness is. You set apart. There's a difference. There's a distinction between right and wrong.
Boundaries, borders,
all that.
Rooms.
A menorah look like a menorah, and it's used by not just oil, but that fine, clear, beaten oil, a specific type of oil. Right?
People just always want they want to bring and give the Most High whatever they want to or feel like giving, or they want to be half in, half out.
You don't want that. You don't want that.
Take a vacation for their birthday. Their birthday falls on the
Shabbat.
On the Shabbat or holy day. Take a vacation for the Sabbath.
Ain't no vacation days. Mm-mm. What's that little acronym they got for vacation days? No, the little acronym. Pay time off.
Oh, PTO.
Ain't no PTO. Ain't no PTO time in this. Right? That don't exist. We have to be representatives of the Most High all the time. And when those that are on the outside look at us, it's supposed to bring them to shame. Right? It can't be the same. It can't be the same thing going on between what we're doing and who we think we supposed to be trying to reach is doing. There got to be a difference. There got to be a distinction.
Any borders, boundaries.
All that.
I can't imagine somebody coming up to the priest and trying to talk to him all day about foolishness.
No.
He got a job to do.
He don't got time for that.
Can you imagine that? You imagine somebody coming up to your shoe and trying to just talk to him about just stuff that's just random?
If they was talking to the priest probably just be like, unto Yahweh. Unto Yahweh. That's what he's about.
Yeah.
He's about being unto Yahweh. And so that's what we got to be about. Right? That got to be our situation. That has got to be our existence, right? We are righteous unto Elohim. That's who we are. That's what we do. That's who you be, right? You are a light, right? You are a light, right? Yeshua talks about the fact that you are the light, right? You are light. You are salt. You can't stop being light. You can't stop being salt if that's what you are. If that is indeed what you are, you can't not be that.
As soon as you not be that, you're not yourself.
You're not who the Most High has called you to be, right? Because you're a new creation. He said, I'm not looking at you the way that you used to be no more. I'm looking at you the way that I made you to be, which is light, which is salt, which is somebody who is a representative of Messiah, right? That is our new existence, right? And we have to continue to press forward and be the best representatives that he has called us and has made for us to be. And we can only be that, right? Because you are doing the Most High a disservice, because the way that he is exemplified in the earth today is through you and you walking in obedience. The way that the Most High exhibits his character is through you walking in obedience, through you being who he made you to be, a menorah, for you being who he made you to be, a priest, right? For you properly representing him in the world every day, all day.
44
Okay. Okay, so that being said, we got any thoughts or questions or comments over here? Let me see over here.
I would just say that there's judgment when you send a mixed message.
Yeah. Right, because it's a lie. Right, you being a false witness. Right, if you giving a mixed message, if you're supposed to be a light and you out here giving off shade, you being a false witness against yourself and the Most High, because you a representative of the Most High, and you representing the Prince of Darkness when you supposed to be representing the King of Light and Life, right? And so we got to remember this, when we walk, when we be who he called for us to be, and we got to remember that we on the job. You always on the job. We got to remember this. It's got to be a thing that is just is in our life. What that say? We're gonna stop.
I mean, on a purifier, you wasting time on the clock. Like, how much more so is the Most High?
Yeah, how much more so? Okay, hold on. What this verse say right here? We're gonna end with this. What that say? 25 and 21.
And his master said to him, "Well done, good and trustworthy servant. You were trustworthy over a little. I shall set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master."
Okay, yes, very good. So when we think about our duties, we'll end with this. We think about our duties as a priest, right? Maybe you're not a priest of a nation, right? Maybe you just a priest of a family. You just a priest of a couple people, There's just a few individuals who look to you as a picture of righteousness. It don't matter whether it's great or small, whatever it is, the Most High has given you a particular a task of a priesthood. He's given you a particular task of being a menorah. He's given you a particular task of being a salt, and he expects to for you to excel at the your own particular task. But whether it be great or small, you still on the job, right? You still on the job regardless whether it be great or whether it be small, and he still expects for you to exhibit the transformation that he started and created in you through his Ruach HaKodesh. And we have to remain these good and faithful, steadfast, immovable servants, so that we can have these wonderful words spoken to us by our master when we see him, in that day. Okay, so that being said, we are going to be done for today. Yeah. Hey, we'll say Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
And enjoy the rest of your
Shabbat.
Shabbat.
Yeah.